So what would you like to talk about in this session?
Hi. And so I need a little help going over my thesis, and I also have some questions on how to develop examples in a body paragraph. And so for this essay, I'm supposed to describe Tan's perspective about the value of different Englishes, what I think of this perspective, and then I need to use personal experience, observations, and readings to support my argument.
Okay, well let's take a look at your thesis. It looks like it's right here.
Yeah.
So you say college students with impeccable broken English should speak and understand formal English so they can communicate easier in their academic life.
Yeah.
So what do you think about your thesis? Do you think it responds to the prompt?
I think it does. I'm not really sure. That's one of the things I wanted to ask you about.
Okay, that's fine. Well, a good way to check is to treat the prompt as a checklist. So what are the things you have to do according to the prompt?
Okay, so looking at the prompt again, I have to describe Tan's perspective, I have to say what I think, so my opinion about it, and then I have to use personal experiences as evidence.
That's right, I agree. So where do you do each of those things in your thesis?
Okay, so well, in my thesis, I quoted Tan here when I said impeccable broken English,
Mhm.
so I'm trying to show that that's from Tan. And then I said students should speak and understand formal English to try to show that that's my opinion here. And then I'm getting at this academic life to try to use the personal experience part of it.
That's great. I can really see how all those points relate to all three parts of the prompt. But are you sure your reader will know that that quote in your thesis comes from Tan and whether you agree or disagree with it?
Well, maybe. I mean, my teachers read the article.
That's true, but who is your audience for this paper?
I'm not sure. I don't think it says anywhere on the assignment.
Okay, well you might want to check with your professor then, because typically a thesis is a sentence or two that can stand alone to answer the prompt. So you may want to consider attributing that quote to Tan to be sure that's clear and to avoid any suspicion of plagiarism. Also, it's important to state whether you agree or disagree with her to make sure you fully respond to the prompt, since that's what it's asking you to do. Do you want to try drafting a new thesis?
Okay, so how can I phrase Tan's perspective?
Maybe you can start with something like, Tan's perspective about different Englishes is...
Maybe Tan's perspective about different Englishes is all forms are important for communication.
That could work really well.
Okay, cool. Maybe I could also use a word like however to show that I disagree with her. Do you think that would work?
Yeah, I think that would clearly show the reader how you disagree with Tan and why. So do you now feel more comfortable with your thesis?
Yeah, that sounds pretty good, especially now that I added in Tan's viewpoint here.
Great. Did you want to write something down so you remember?
Yeah, that's let me take down, okay. Let me
Okay.
try to remember what I just said there. Okay,
Great. Nice work.
thank you.
Okay, so let's move on to your example, since you asked about that as well.
Okay.
Why don't you read your first example to me?
Okay, so my first body paragraph, my first example says, for example, in a complicated ecology courses, students have a harder time understanding the contents when the professor uses academic words that students cannot understand, which leads to students' distraction during classes.
Do you think this example relates to your thesis?
I think so.
How? How does it relate?
Well, I tried to show how students can get distracted if they don't know formal ecology vocabulary, especially when taking an ecology course.
I agree. I think that's what you showed too. Do you know what you typically should do after giving an example though?
Explain it? I thought I did that when I said students would get distracted.
Well, yes, you should explain it, which you did do. That's good. But you should also show how the example supports the thesis. So do you connect your example to the thesis here?
Oh, not really. Should I mention Tan then?
It's a good idea too. Yes, because you show how you disagree with her views in your thesis.
Okay, well, I'm kind of worried about getting too repetitive. I already said I disagreed with her earlier.
That's true, and I understand that. But the audience may not find it repetitive because the audience doesn't know how you see this example as supporting your thesis statement. In academic writing, it's a good practice to explain your examples to justify why you're including them in your paragraph.
Okay, that makes sense. Let me just make sure that I'm reminding myself that I need to connect it to my thesis here. Okay, so I think I can work on that later. Can we move on to the next example and see if that one works?
Sure.